Art of Chicago. Hey, what's that art about?
Welcome back to Art of Chicago, where we answer the question, hey, what's that art about? Today we'll be trekking on down to Wrigleyville, where we'll learn the story of the Slipslood.
The structure in Wrigleyville, the one known as the Slipslood. Slipslood is it's actually it's quite interesting in history. Have you ever heard of the Pharaoh of Egypt, Amidala? Amidala was actually she was a pharaoh during the Christ period. It was the period is like 300 BC. The Christ period has nothing to do with Jesus Christ himself. It's actually named after a small book found in the library. So this is actually Slipslood, and Amidala had the Jews build it for her. I don't think that's very fair. She wanted this structure to slide an inner tube. She said, "Oh, I wish I could feel like a penguin. I want to be a penguin for a day." She didn't know what penguins were. She heard it from a story of some Indian traveler who came by. We didn't have planes. We didn't go to Antarctica.
But the first structure was made out of pineapples, which is weird because it took place in Egypt, and that's just not, they're not indigenous to Egypt. Very tropical fruit. Anyways, so Pharaoh Amidala had her Jew slaves make this for her, and she slid down it, but they were made with the spikes, so they caught her.
So she orders them to build it again, this time out of glass. So they do it. They build it out of glass, just like she asked. And this time it worked well, except when she slid down, she got a rash on her belly. So they said, hey Amidala, let's grease you up and let's run some water through this thing. And she said, yeah. And the way that it gets to America, to Wrigleyville now, it's actually not art. It got transported here by hurricane. I don't know if you're familiar with the butterfly effect, but a butterfly flaps its wings, and a hurricane from Africa comes up to the United States. That's how hurricanes are caused. And so this Hurricane Zimbabwe. Back then, they weren't very imaginative. They just named it wherever the first person saw it. It was Hurricane Zimbabwe. There was a lot of Zimbabwes. And they didn't have the A to Z naming system yet. It was mostly just Zimbabwe, Bermuda, Zimbabwe, from the back of a dolphin, and then 4 more Zimbabwes. And so the hurricane, it takes it from Zimbabwe all the way up the Gulf Stream. And then once it hits the end of the Gulf Stream, there's nothing to carry it anymore. And it drops it in Florida.
A long time ago, when the hurricane first brought it over, and it landed in Florida, Florida is the place where people go to die. Things and people go to die there,
It was only olds. That's all that was there. And they take this, and they put it on the back of an Amish wagon.
Thank God for the Amish bringing it up to Pennsylvania, because if they hadn't, can you imagine? An old person might have been buried inside it. Oh, it's just garish to think about.
And from there, it actually is, it's a famous story. This story is actually about a small dog named Lola. She blew your mind. Lola could find all the bones every dog ever buried. Good luck finding Lola's bones, though. She's too smart. Too smart for her own good, can't even find her own. And Lola, she takes this big slip, it looks to her like a big bone. And she takes it in her jaws. She's big. Oh, did I mention she was a giant? Because she's enormous.
When it ends up in Chicago, because this dog that brought it over, it's still the glass, but it's more like a mesh glass. But it's amazing because you would think that the dog's teeth would have shattered the glass. But Lola had magic teeth that it's just when she bites into things, you know, it doesn't shatter. It just leaves this very unique, very beautiful print. I mean, you've seen it. It's artistic. It's gorgeous.
Lola takes this all the way up to Chicago when she's going to find another bone from Al Capone. Al Capone was Al Capone's dog. And Lola takes us and she finds a place to pee. And she sits down right next to the worst baseball team in America, and she just takes a big old piss. And she drops her bone there. She said, "That's it. That's all I can do." And that's how we got to Wrigleyville. And you know, some kids came by, some ruffians, you know, Chicago, some ruffians. They painted it. You know, the original color was a pharaoh gold and chartreuse.
But now it's in this beautiful place, where everyone can see it, you know? It's not the true beautiful colors that it once was, but, you know, now it has its own Chicago twist. We've taken something not ours and made it ours. Evolution. It's evolution. And that, in itself, is art.
Out of Chicago, hey, what's that art about?